I wanted to do a quick video on the role of the vestibular system, and more specifically give you exercises of things that you can do to start retraining the vestibular system, or certainly optimize its function. Upright posture involves multiple sensory systems, multiple sensory organs that allow us to know where our body is in space. And our medical healthcare today has divided up these different sensory organs or sensory systems into different specialties. So it's going to be really important for us and for you as practitioners to be able to, if you're looking to work in a holistic and global approach, to start looking at all of those sensory entries that are necessary for our brain to, in essence, to know where our body is in space. So when we look at the different sensory system, we have mainly three systems of balance. So we have the visual system, which involves, of course, vision, but what we tend to look at is the way that the muscles that move the eyes, how is that affecting stability and our posture. We also have our vestibular system, which basically tells our brain where our head is in relation to our shoulders and our body and our center of gravity. And we also have proprioception, or a sensory organ in through our feet and our ankle. We have it in our tendons, we have it in our muscles, and we certainly have it in our joints. And all three of these sensory systems are constantly telling our brain where our body is in space, and mainly the role of the vestibular system, because I will give you 5 exercises that you can practice and start doing on a daily basis with your clients, with yourself, or even with children, is that the role of the vestibular system mainly is to inform the brain of the changes in head and neck movement and body movement. Now, here's the thing, the trick is going to be able to perform these movements in a coordinated fashion without falling over while gaining stability. So those exercises are great for kids as they're developing their brain and their body and their stability. It provides a positive reinforcement, but also another really important factor is when children or even adults feel unstable, that causes additional stress. And this just raises and puts the sympathetic system on high alert. And at that point in time, it can make it a little more challenging for children to be able to concentrate in school or even to have self-confidence. So if the brain is impaired, then we're going to have to go into what we do with the Posturepro method and in clinic, is that if the brain is impaired, if one of those sensory systems is impaired, our role is to use a holistic assessment approach by looking at those different sensory organs or those sensory entries that might be contributing to dizziness or postural imbalances in children or in elderlies. So let me share my screen with you so that we can be on the same page. So here are the sensory systems: the visual system, the vestibular system, and the proprioceptive system. Now keep in mind that the proprioceptors in the skin of the feet do relay very specific information to the brain in regards to our center of gravity. So in children, I do encourage you to look at those sensory entries if you can, to try, of course, if everything has been cleared with your doctor or with the MDs, and you find that your child has instability or has a harder time understanding what they're being taught in school, or just has a hard time with stress, it might be a good idea to look into those sensory systems. So without any further ado, I have put some pictures of some stability exercises that you can start doing with your children at home or wherever it is that you are. The first exercise that I'm going to suggest is walking with one foot in front of the other. This exercise can be also done in conjunction with just learning how to stand on one leg without losing balance, and that could be really challenging for children. Typically by the age of 3 to 4 years old, a child should be able to stand on one leg, at least for 3 to 5 seconds without falling over. So of course, encouraging them through positive feedback, helping them. They can do this by leaning on a wall at first, slowly and gradually as they learn to control their body from falling over. So the falling over is what's going to stimulate the vestibular system to activate their posterior chain. So the more they repeat this motion, the more they repeat the movement, the more they start creating proper connections, or I should say, maturing the connections of the neurons, the myelin sheet around the neuron, so that the transmission of information can happen that much faster. And also it helps them learn to control their body. So doing this exercise either in a hallway or next to a wall, practice walking in a straight line for 5 minutes with one foot in front of the other. And an easier version of this, or a more challenging or a different version of this, would be to try standing on one leg at first, and then of course going along with the walking. I'll be posting these exercises on our YouTube channel. If you guys individually, if you guys want to take a look at Posturepro, that is our YouTube channel, so that you can get a better visual of those single-handedly of each and every one of these exercises. So the second exercise that I'm going to propose is a body rotation. At that point, we are asking the child to stand in a straight position, lift their arms, and just simply rotate on one side 5 times. And then rotate on the other side for another 5 times. Doing this 3 sets of 10, 2 to 3 times daily is also a great exercise to start training the vestibular system. Now, the vestibular system does share a very close connection with the visual system, so any movements of the head or the body that is being done will also invoke eye movements, and it's about gaze stability, and it's about learning to control our eye movements as our head is moving in that specific environment. The third exercise is walking, just regular walking combined with head turning. So I will encourage you to do this exercise in a as slowly as possible. Again, positive reinforcement for the child is absolutely crucial and super important. And these exercises, I mean, with athletes, and we find that some athletes even have a hard time performing these exercises and have issues with their stability. If we simply ask them to do a neurological test and bring their feet together, extend their arms and close their eyes, very often we'll see that there's actually a movement of instability, and that may be a vestibular issue, it may be an ocular issue. That's to be determined in our practice. But one thing is for certain is that there is an issue with either the Romberg or the Fukuda test, then at that point, gait will be impaired. So we do see this in athletes, we see it in adults, we definitely see it in elderlies, but we also see it in children. Again, prevention starts with the children, and this is why I'm promoting to do this with children, certainly if you have children. So practice walking in a straight line while turning your head and your eyes from left to right. Do this 3 sets of 10, 2 to 3 times daily, and you can do this by holding yourself. If you're starting with a very young toddler, either by helping them by holding themselves on a wall. You can do this by simply holding one hand with your index and guiding them, and eventually they should be able to perform this exercise without you helping them. The fourth exercise, I'm sorry, it says 5 here, so let me correct that for you. The fourth exercise that I'm going to suggest is gaze stabilization. So you can do this either with a pen. I'm just using a little toy that has different figures on it to entertain the toddler and the child. And we ask them to pick the image that inspires them. And in this case, Gabriella chose to pick the image of a cat. And so she's looking at a cat, and I'm just holding the stick right in front of her. And what I'm going to ask her is to keep her eyes fixated on the cat. And I will ask her to basically move her head from left to right as she is basically keeping her eyes on that target. Now, She can do this in a sitting position, in a standing position, but she can also, you know, if the more challenging aspects of this exercise would be to do this while she's standing on one leg, or even by putting disturbances in the back, or more of a busy wallpaper or even a checkboard in the back to make the exercise more challenging. So move the head from side to side for 30 seconds, 3 sets of 10, 2 to 3 times a day. Keep the eyes fixated on that target, and that is part of the gaze stabilization exercise. Last but not least, the 5th exercise that I'm going to propose is smooth pursuit. Now at this point, we're not moving the head is staying stationary, and we will simply ask the child to look at that same target, and you will move your hands. You could do this also with your index. You will move your hands slowly from left to right. Make sure that the target is at the level of the pupil, at the level of horizon, and you'll start moving from left to right. You can also perform this exercise in a vertical motion. The idea behind the exercise is, again, we don't want the child to tilt their head. We don't want the child to rotate their head. We really simply just want them to be able to follow the target with their eyes. So hold a single target, keep your eyes fixed on the target, and slowly move it side to side for 30 seconds while the head stays still. 3 sets of 10, 2 to 3 times daily. And moving the eyes does have a great effect with the sympathetic system. As we've said before, when a child feels unstable, they may not be aware of this. They may be or may feel excessively stressed. So you may find that after doing these exercises, your children feel more relaxed. Again, try to encourage them, and I hope that you guys enjoyed those 5 exercises. Let me know if they worked for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to answer them in the comments below.